Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast here in frigid Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if that's the actual town name, but all I know is that's what I felt the whole time I've been here.
There you go.
Darin is on the show today. Darin, do you care to just introduce yourself to the audience and maybe a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I would represent Riehl Steel, I guess. We're just a small manufacturer. We make some machines for the shed building industry as well as some things for other industries as well.
Very talented is the first thing that comes to mind as I walk into the shop and see. I would imagine it takes years of dedication and probably hard work and sweat equity to learn about how to do all the trades that you've done. I appreciate that mechanic's mind. I do not have that. So for me, it's impressive whenever I can get around folks who can use creativity, even in just the components that they're building. So my hat's off to you, sir, for just being able to walk in here and for me, that's intimidating what you do to see it done. So tell me how Riehl Steel kind of got started. What's the backstory here on how it came to be?
Sure. So my grandpa was making some machines for the sawmill industry since the mid-'90s probably. And then my uncle or his son at that time would have got a little bit involved with some of the shed building industries, and not sure exactly where. He would have built a few truss presses over the years. I'm not sure. Maybe his first one was in late 2000s. I don't actually know for sure.
Okay.
And he'd been making, some of those truss presses off and on for a few years. And then he got older, and my grandmother passed away, and just due to some circumstances in life, we started. I took over the business from him in 2016, along with my dad. We went in there as partners, and so we would have, made a few truss presses similar to how he made them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of saw that they could use some redesign work. So we redesigned the machines. I don't know, maybe about 5 years ago or so. And kind of started advertising more and got into the shed industry more and more as far as that goes. So we made some, we make the truss presses, and then as well as we designed the bird's mouth notcher, we kind of saw that there wasn't any machine out there that did that very well. So we designed that machine then as well for the shed industry.
That's great. Have you guys always been here in Lewisburg?
Yes, we have always been in Lewisburg here. My grandpa started in a small building just back the lane from us here. We are in a larger facility now, and we're already kind of outgrowing that, but we do with what we've got.
So what came to be sort of like your development, kind of taking that down, handing that down from your dad to wanting to expand Riehl Steel into other areas? And it sounds like you guys have some other development, even in other industries as well.
Yes. I don't know that we really necessarily went into the mindset we're going to grow a big business, but we just like to do things. We like to build things. And so it just kind of happened to us, I guess.
That's a great thing to fall into. Yeah. Opportunity is a great thing to fall into. Yeah. They say opportunity finds you when you're working hard, right? So,
I suppose.
Well, I appreciate your candor, because I would imagine that you guys put in some hard work in there in the shop just from the looks of things. So tell me a little bit about like your small barn truss press. We were kind of discussing it a little bit before we got started here. What and in what way does that service the shed industry? What's your kind of your approach, your business model approach to marketing that, say, to the shed industry, and how you can help?
Sure. So, a lot of people make trusses in different ways. Some of them use the plates, the metal plates. A lot of people use the plywood gussets. And if you do use the metal plates, the truss press is an easy way to make uniform trusses, makes them very consistent. Ours is, we like to think it's easy to set up and easy to use there. As far as that goes, there's different ways of doing it, and ours is just one way of doing it.
You have a particular spring system.
Sure.
Okay. Educate me a little bit, because I'm going to ask you the best questions I've got here, and you're just probably going to have to educate me a little bit because I'm probably coming in way green on this. But explain to me what the spring is.
Sure.
Portion.
We have what's called we call it a spring plate. It's not a trademark name or anything. It's just a name. It's just naming what it is. It's some steel that's designed specifically for one size of truss plate. So like if you have a 3x4, we make a 3x4 truss plate. We can make anything. We've made anything from like a 2x4 to 4x6 is the largest we like to make. We have made bigger ones, but yeah, our standard machine is capable of up to a 4x6 plate. And so that spring plate, it allows for positive positioning of the truss plate. And so you can get a consistent, repeatable placement of your truss plate on every truss you make, as well as it holds the plate easily there, so you don't have to place it manually by hand. You just simply load the truss plate into the truss plate, and then everything is there for you. You set your lumber on top of that, and you press the whole thing in there.
So now this is you're just sticking basically the studs in.
Yes.
It lays flat.
Yes.
Sets just across the top of the spring.
Yes.
And then how does this work? It uses hydraulics?
Sure. So there's an electric motor that drives a hydraulic pump, and then it's just a simple, normally hand-operated valve. We can also do electronic operation of the feature as well, but the normal machine is just a simple hand-operated valve to close it there.
And then how do typical barn builders remove the truss? By hand, I'm guessing. I mean, they're still light enough to...
Yeah, I would assume all of them do it that way. I don't actually know for sure.
Yeah, I got you. I would think. And then, I mean, the beauty of that is you stack those trusses up.
Yeah.
There's done. Now, there's alternatives. Some people will use the cutoffs.
Yes.
You know, glue and nails and things like that. But this creates definitely from my opinion, a more uniform,
right? Yeah.
Look.
More uniform and consistent. I mean, they have jigs and whatnot that they build their with the gussets like that. But yeah.
No, that's good. Take me through like the hydraulic system of this. You said you have an electric pump that works this. Do you build all the components to the press?
Yes, we build all the machine. I mean, obviously we buy the motor and the hydraulic pump and the valves and things like that, but we do everything else in-house here, yeah.
And you're doing that because, I mean, you guys got like all these torches and all this stuff going here. And,
sure, yeah.
So that comes down to just engineering.
Pretty much, I guess, yeah.
Do you do this by spec, or do you say, hey, I've just got this thing figured out and I'm going to go in here and build this?
Sure. So the machine is pretty much all the same. About the only differences between shops with the machine is the spring plate size that the shops use. These machines are designed to accommodate up to a 16-foot wide building.
Okay.
They can be a little wider if that's something that's needed. They're very easily adjustable for anything you want to make. Essentially, it can go from a straight line to a 90-degree angle, or anywhere in between there. So it's not really, we don't build them custom for every shop, except, like I said, the spring plates are a different size. And if a shop uses a different size truss, a spring plate or a truss plate for the rafters, it's just a simple one-bolt operation. You can remove the spring plate and put a different size spring plate on there if they have different size plates that they use.
And I'm assuming that comes with the machine when you purchase? Or?
Yes, that's correct. They would have to specify the size of the truss plate that they want to use at when they purchase it, yeah.
And that I'm assuming you can do, so like your traditional gable trusses, but then also a mini barn.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
You can, so the normal machine is a 3-head. We can do a 5-head machine as well.
Okay.
And you can isolate all the heads you want. So you can use 1 head or 3 heads or 5 heads or whatever you want there. Just depends on how many plates you have in your truss at one time.
So would that mean that you would? How does that come? Does it come standard, or let's say you go to a 5-head, you order an extension, basically?
Yes, basically the 5-head would just go like a gambrel with a brace is usually where the 5-head is used there.
Okay.
As far as
Yeah, very good. And you can go as small. You said as large as 16, but as small as.
That's right. So the closest. I think it's about 18 inches on center is the closest you can place the plates, the metal plates.
Okay.
So
That'd be a tiny roof, wouldn't it?
It would be.
I guess, I don't know, greenhouses, dog houses, who knows?
Sure, yeah. We have some customers that, they use the machine also to build their doors. So that's why they want the closest, to have it real close there as far as that goes, yeah.
That just pretty well segues perfectly into just sort of a focus on the next, you've got several machines listed on your website.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about the small barn door press.
Sure.
I can't help but think that this is probably geared toward your larger manufacturers.
That's right. Yeah. That's usually who we sell them to. Yes.
Okay. And the idea is to just come in and build a ton of doors.
Sure. Yeah.
You probably, for any manufacturer, they know they're going to have guys who wear multiple hats.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially with framing. So what this really does, so the first thing that comes to mind immediately, right, is this relieves wearing out an employee with the heavier tamping tool that you would use, right, to install a truss plate onto a door.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
What was the inspiration for the idea on this?
I think we were actually approached by a customer, if I remember correctly. Can we do a door press, or can we make something that would do their doors? And they said, yeah, sure, we'll take a look at it and see what we can do. And they seemed to really like it, so they got a few more.
Were there any challenges initially getting started?
With the door press, I don't know. We like to draw all our machines out on a CAD on the computer there to try to encounter any mistakes or any problems we might have before we actually build the machines. That kind of gives us an overview and take a look at what we might be facing and some things like that before we actually build the machine itself. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Can this accommodate several different door styles?
Yes, I believe that one there, we can pretty much build it to whatever size door you want to make there. I think the standard machine there is 76 or 80 inches high. We've made pretty many modifications to the door machine there. It's adjustable for different widths. You can easily slide the heads to accommodate different lengths of doors or your positioning of the truss plate wherever you want it on your doors there. So basically it just has 3 hydraulic heads on one rail and then 3 opposing that, and they're all in a straight line, so it keeps everything uniform and square, and it makes nice straight doors when you have it set up how you like it.
Is it, space-wise?
So that machine, the door press, would take up a little more room than, let's say, the truss press. The door press, if you would take your largest door and add, maybe 2 feet on each side of it, would give you a kind of a footprint of the door press size like that.
So if I think about a smaller shop.
Yeah.
They might have to be conscientious of how much room they have.
Yes.
I know particularly the small barn truss press, it folds. It's on rollers.
Yes, we have it has telescoping arms, so that keeps the footprint smaller. We have had made the entire unit mobile. It works best if the center head is fixed to the concrete, just so you don't tip it over or whatever. So it's just you have a fixed reference point. Actually, does work the best for that system.
Was there challenges with the small barn truss press as opposed to the door press?
Sure, we have done a few modifications to the truss press over the years. One of the things is customers are wanting to use it for 2x6 lumber versus 2x4 lumber.
Interesting.
So we had to increase the throat depth a little bit to make sure that they can accommodate that, and we also had to strengthen it a little bit so you wouldn't have as much flex, and so you would get adequate pressure to push the plates in the lumber how they should be.
And a lot of that's going to be for your larger buildings.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, they're going to want 14, 16 wides. They're going to want to put that 2x6 upgrade.
Right, for the snow loads out west and things like that, is they have to have the larger 2x6s, yeah.
Oh, that's all definitely neat. See, I love these opportunities because I just feel like I learned so much more.
Sure.
So one of the neatest machines that you have here, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, is the bird's mouth notcher. Explain to me a little bit what that is, or for somebody who's just not aware.
Sure. So in construction there, not everybody does it in the shed building industry, but you have a bird's mouth, which it's designed when it sets on the top plate of your wall. Just provides a positive location for your truss to sit onto, and so designed the machine there to accommodate that.
So the purpose of the bird's mouth is so it says here, like in your brochures here, accommodates angles 15 degrees to 45 degrees. It can cut up to 1 3/4 inch deep. The purpose behind that is it's going to also pull the top plate of both walls in and offer security, right?
Yes, that's the other thing it does there. Yes, we've had some customers that say they like to when they really like that machine for when they build their truss. They can also kind of use it as a hook to pull their walls in. So then you can just throw the truss up there, and it kind of acts like a little hook. You can just kind of lever the truss, the wall in, so that it's straight there.
So how does the machine actually work? How do you create that notch?
Sure. So that one has an electric motor that's running a custom. It's kind of like a motor type head. Some machines out in there, use saw blades. This one just creates dust. Doesn't create any chunks of wood. And so you lay the boards flat on the table. You can lay two on top of each other, 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x whatever. It doesn't really matter. Because they're laying flat. And then the cutting is done from the back. Cuts up there. And then you can, like I said, you can adjust the angle. You can adjust the depth. There's a battery readout that shows you the depth of cut that you're having, as well as the angle that you have set. So you can easily see that there, and there's just simple hand levers that you can crank to adjust those depths and the angles there.
Can it be like multi-purposed? Can it be used for more areas than just the trusses?
Sure. So we have had some requests for, and we sort of have the machine drawn. We haven't built any, as some people that use the metal siding put their 2x4s inset into the side of the building. So you would need like an 1.5 by 3.5 inch notch, a straight notch. This machine won't accommodate a straight notch just because of some of the design elements. So it can't be used for that. However, we could build something that would do that for them, but you just have to have two machines then if you want the bird's mouth notch and the straight cut.
Okay.
In the rafter there. People do use the bird's mouth notcher to cut the tails, because oftentimes the tails of the rafters are cut at the same angle as the notch to accommodate your soffit or whatnot. So this machine does that. You would just have to do it in two separate cuts rather than, So you would one cut with your notch, and then the second cut would cut your tails or the rafters there.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to, I don't know, maybe we can get some video or something like
Sure.
that at some point, and we'll show some of the process and things like that. I think for people to see a lot of times things, it makes a lot of sense. Do you get that request often whenever people call in?
We do somewhat. There's a few short videos on our website that does demonstrate how the operation works a little bit there. So if you can check that out if you want to see a few short videos of how that works.
You have some other machines.
Yes.
I mean, and woodworking, but maybe not so specific to the shed industry.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
One is, I'm trying to think of the first one. I'm coming.
A board edger.
Board edger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I suppose that could be not completely useless for the shed industry.
We have had some shed builders that have looked at it and said, that might work for something, but I don't know of any that actually have any of our machines for that purpose there. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to me like, whenever I first saw it, I mean, you're taking raw lumber. That's
right. It's designed for the sawmills where they would, take their rough boards right off of the sawmill. You can cut one or both sides of the board off, so you can, resize it to whatever width you want, or you can maximize your usage there. It's what that machine is made for.
Well, so much of this kind of lends its hand toward the conversation about automation.
Sure.
What's sort of your thoughts on automation? I mean, obviously you're building a machine that automatically cuts, the notches, or automatically builds the truss.
Sure.
Do you have adventures to do more with the shed industry, and is there areas that you can create? And you don't have to answer any of your, if you've got any things in the works, please don't feel obligated in any way to share, but just curious, do you just naturally come to mind that you want to do more or can do more?
Yeah, we have had some interest in some other machines. We're pretty limited in what we can do. Our building size that we're in isn't large enough. We don't quite have the manpower to get into a bunch of other machines. But there's a possibility that in the future we'll get into something else. One of the things that I think could be made is like an angle saw to cut your different cuts in for your rafter lengths, your angles, and all things like that. Something a little bit more automated than what's out there now. Something that possibly could be made in the future, but I don't know. I don't see anything soon coming up for that.
The purpose of something like that kind of comes to mind is it doesn't take a skilled craftsman necessarily to operate. I mean, it's good to obviously vet your employees and things like that, of course. And what we usually have, it seems like in the barn business, is hiring particular people who have a good eye with carpentry. Yeah. Some people get into it for the purpose of, my dad did it and I just want to do it. And it's sort of second, third generation. But one thing we found during COVID was that labor seemed to be, it wasn't hard to sell. Yeah. It was hard to keep inventory. Yeah. It was hard to get people to be able to work to build inventory. And so I guess in my head, what sort of comes to mind is this automation process kind of allows you, or anything that's automated that outside of what you guys are doing, but that comes to mind is it allows for even an entry-level employee to come in. What kind of feedback have you gotten on the processes or the machines that you've already had out?
Well, I talk to some of our customers. I don't talk to them a lot. I think the best feedback that I get is repeat orders.
Yeah.
So, we have one manufacturer, we have several manufacturers that have different locations, and they order machines for their other new locations or whatever. They want to upgrade this this facility to this machine. And I think that's the best feedback that we receive is repeat orders. So,
yeah. Oh, for sure. Creating that process for them, it just makes a lot of sense. You would have to hire an extra guy I don't know. To me, I think about the savings. Obviously, an automated process allows you to put a building out more. Maybe one of the objections might be that it doesn't allow room for customization, but you're actually able to customize the machine pretty good, right?
Yeah, the machines we have are pretty much built around customization. We are not limited in different sized rafters. If you want to change up a style, it's very easy to do. Our truss press is very adjustable for different sizes there. Back to the automation thing, I think a lot of people would consider these machines automated, whereas they are somewhat automated, but I think a lot of the shed builders are coming from like a farming or a framing background, where a skill saw and a chop saw is what they use. And, so these machines, they may not even be aware that they are there. And I think a lot of shops are just, realizing more and more that how valuable these machines can be, rather than, like you were saying, somebody that can run a skill saw or a chop saw and they're still kind of, we get some hesitation, for the cost and how quickly does the machine pay itself back and all those things. But
well, I know as well as anyone that the shed industry are some of the hardest folks to sell to. So I can attest that's probably one of the hardest sales that I've ever had in my life in particular. Yeah. I think that you have you already have a ton of like engineering minded folks in this industry that they kind of come from a perspective of if I don't want to buy it, I'll do it myself. I'll create it myself. And that very like can do it attitude is amazing. Yeah. It also and I think that's what you see. So many people want to create an alternative to, because they kind of want to put their spin on it. Sure. Like, that's a really good product, but then what if you did this here?
That's right. Yeah.
And if it's like, well, it's not really in the plans, they're like, oh, well, I'll go create that. And you're just like, wow, that's not most customers. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. We've had a few customers that want to say, can we buy just your spring plates and we'll put it on our machine or a different machine, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I'm assuming you said the plates come in several different sizes.
Yes.
So you could do that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought. It's that engineering mind, man. I like to say that German mind is like full of engineering, like just possibilities, showing the rest of the world how to do it. And I'm always impressed with like the different machines that I see in this industry. Sure. Tell me a little bit more about Darin. So as said before multiple times on the show, completely convinced that people buy from people they trust. And one thing that's cool about the show is it gives you an opportunity to use this to put not just on your socials or your website, but to create a rapport.
Sure.
So we've got 30, 45 minutes to sit here and talk. Well, I want to get the most out of that and say,
Sure.
well, who is Darin,
Yeah.
and what should the customers know about Darin? Because it's my job to expose that, I
Sure.
guess, in a good way.
Yeah. Well, my life revolves around my 2 children and my wife. That's pretty much what I spend my evenings doing most of the time. I do also enjoy some disc golfing, as well as I do some road biking every now and again as well. So,
Disc golfing. I
Yeah.
love disc golf. I'm
Yeah.
terrible at it, but
yeah.
I love it. You grew up here in Lewisburg?
That's right. Yep. I was born and raised here. Yep. Just back the lane from where we are now. Yep.
Okay. And then what is sort of your future plans to? I don't know where the intersection of Riehl Steel
Yeah.
and the shed industry meet.
Yeah.
I obviously understand the bird's mouth machine. I
Yeah.
understand the truss press. I understand
Sure.
the door press. Where are other areas that you sort of do meet at that intersection of the shed industry?
Yeah. I think that probably, pretty much entails that. Like I said, there are some other things we could get into that would serve the shed building industry, but we just don't have the size or the manpower to go much further with some things like that. And we're already quite busy with what we do, so I'm fairly
Yeah.
content with where we're at.
Well, contentment, that's a powerful word in its own right. Do you have like other extracurricular activities outside of that family activity?
Sure. We are involved a lot with church there, and
Yeah.
like to spend time with church folk, with community, and things like that. Yeah.
What is your view of the shed industry? You're a bit of you service the industry,
Yeah.
but you're a bit of an outsider
Sure.
to some extent,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't build sheds, you don't
Yeah.
haul them or sell them. What's kind of your take on it? Like, I don't even know, how long have you been with Riehl Steel? Like, how long have you been servicing the industry?
Sure. We've been with Riehl Steel since 2016.
Okay.
In the last, 4 or 5 years, we probably would have gotten more involved with the shed building industry, though that is, I'm not sure what the numbers are, maybe 60% or 70% of our business is done with shed building manufacturers. We do have some other markets we serve as well, like we talked about the sawmill industry, and some things like that.
What's kind of been the changes you've seen in the industry just in that short time?
I think people have become more aware of, especially our bird's mouth notcher has become more increasingly popular and well known in the industry in the last few years, and there's been more interest in that machine as well.
Yeah. I think they're constantly looking for new ideas.
Sure.
Something we didn't really touch on are these operations, are these 1-man, 2-man, 3-man operations? Because you've mentioned, the amount of people that you have here. Well, shops are cognizant of that same idea.
Sure.
How can I increase my efficiency through labor?
So I think all of these machines are generally run by one person.
Okay.
They're, you often have a door and a rafter guy, builds their doors and their rafters. It's just as simple as loading the pieces of wood in there and then unloading the truss. So it's usually a 1-man operation as far as I know.
Do you intend to just go farther into the shed industry?
We don't have any direct plans to do anything further than what we already do as far as that goes.
So for you right now, it's a matter of just reaching more people, staying consistent, obviously with your advertising and your marketing.
Sure.
Kind of showing them what you do.
Yes.
And providing good customer service.
That's what we like to do, is just build simple quality machines that just work.
In your own side of business, do you think that welding and fabrication is something you'll continue with for a long time?
I don't foresee doing anything else at this point. So I think Riehl Steel will be around for a while, as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, that's it's neat to do something that you're passionate about.
Sure.
And have the opportunity to do that as well. If people want to find out more about Riehl Steel, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Our website is pretty simple, at riehlsteel.com. We email as well. It's Darin, it's DARIN @riehlsteel.com. Or we have a phone number we can reached by phone as well. It's 570-713-0665.
And then this is one time only. You're going to let the Shed Geek go in and make the next truss press, right?
That's right. Yeah, that would be a special edition there.
Yeah.
may or may not work.
This is the one you'll get the most complaints on, just so you know, if I go in and do that. I think obviously the truss press and the barn door press speak for themselves. They seem like simple, easy to understand processes. I think that probably your bigger barn builders are going to want to continue that process of automation.
Yes.
The bird's mouth, the notcher, I think it's particularly interesting because it's mostly it's just very ingenuitive.
Yes,
like it's not something that it's not something the average person's going to think of.
Yeah, and that machine, it's in small shops, it's in big shops. It doesn't really seem to matter what size shop you are there. Yeah.
Yeah. Price point, I didn't ask you this before the show, but I'm assuming, is that information readily available?
Yes, it's on our website. You can just look up the price there. The price that's on the website is the current price. So, yeah.
All good. Anything else that you would say to the audience that's listening? So you have several manufacturers here. What would sort of your final thoughts be?
Sure. If you guys need anything, just reach out to us and we'll try to accommodate what you might need there.
So simple and just straightforward, and I appreciate your ability to just focus on the job and get it done. Certainly appreciate you taking the opportunity and the time to meet with me today. I'm glad we were able to reach out to you and accommodate it, even though it sounds like we got our wires crossed just a little bit on my end. So my apologies. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope that people will give Riehl Steel a call. Find out more. We'll try to do some video. And maybe get some of that on here. So if people are going to the YouTube channel to actually watch as opposed to just listening to it, maybe they can view a little bit of the process.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Show the little shop we have. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, I think you're doing really cool things. I certainly appreciate the opportunity to interview you. We're fans of prayer. Here on the podcast. And I just want to say, by the way, thank you for listening. One of the first conversations that really blessed me is you responded with, I listen every week, or I listen constantly. I just want to every listener I ever get, I want to be able to say face to face, I so appreciate it. It's a step of faith. It's a leap of faith. And now to do 2 shows a week has been really consuming. And God's just continuing to do things in my life to allow that. A lot of people don't know this, but I'll just go ahead and mention this because maybe by the time it comes out on this show, it'll make sense. I always have to try to think ahead. But me and my wife are actually going all in. I put something out on Facebook recently that said we're going to take a big leap of faith again. You probably understand that in business. She is going to come to work with me full time. So we're going to try to keep everything vertically integrated and in-house and do as much as we can. And we're actually purchasing a small RV where hopefully we'll be able to sell advertising on as well. And we literally want to visit every shed hauler, shed salesman, shed manufacturer, and supplier of anything shed related in this industry and talk to them, build a relationship, interview. So if there's folks that's interested in that, those spots, you'll probably see emails soon or you'll get phone calls soon, hopefully. But feel free to reach out to me as well. I also just want to thank you guys for listening and providing that opportunity for me and my family to be able to do something like this. So we'd ask that God would bless it and that you would all pray for us as we go down this journey. We went through, many of you know from listening, we went through about 2 years ago breast cancer, and I've been with my wife since I was 15 years old, 27 years now, and it changed our life so much that we just want to be in a part in our life now to where we can go out on the road and enjoy and build relationships, and that's expanding into areas like post frame, shed, not just shed manufacturers, but also post frame, pole barn, carports, metal structures, and open wide span structures, and furniture, play sets, greenhouses, chicken coops, you name it. The shed seems to be the common denominator in all of these things.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to visit and talk and build relationships, and I want to be a helper. Is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, just wanted to get that off my chest here, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. Guys, call Riehl Steel today. Darin is such a cool, laid-back dude. I love this guy. He's obviously passionate about what he does, humble and kind, and just probably the way we ought to all be in life a little bit. Do you mind if I pray?
Sure, that's fine.
Or do you want to pray over the...
You go ahead, that's fine.
Okay, all right. I never think to ask anybody, so all right. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for friendship and relationship with Darin. I hope that you would continue to bless his business in the way that you see fit. That we would be reminded of your sovereignty in all areas of our life. Thank you for this opportunity in my own family. I ask that you'd bless it, and that you'd ask that you'd bless the industries that we service. Thank you for fulfilling a passion in my own life, and God, keep me on it. If it's where you want me, and remove me immediately if it's not. And I thank you for all that you do in the lives of those that we get to talk and build community with. And we love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for your son. In Jesus' name, amen. Darin, thanks so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right.